But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying. Time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak, and we begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story here says Russia-Ukraine war weapons being smuggled to Lake Chad region, says Buhari. The writer says it calls for tighter border security, task regional force to end terrorism, military expresses commitment to operations. Nigeria spends over $209 million on multinational joint task force in 6 years. You'll find all the details in page 6. And also above the lead story, reactions trail CJN's comments on PDP governor's insecurity. On page 30 there, budget padding, humanitarian affairs minister exonerates finance ministry. On page 10, 2 Trust TV journalists shortlisted for Wole Soyinka Investigative Journalism Award. On page 35, you'd also find beside the pictorial protest over arrest of student who criticized Aisha Buhari. You'd find that on page 3. Non-oil exporters fetch Nigeria $4.9 billion forex this year. Emefiele, that's on page 6. And riot in Katsina as bandits kill DPO's brother on page 34. You'd find the pictorial there showing you President Muhammadu Buhari and other leaders of the Lake Chad region during their meeting in Abuja on Tuesday. At the footnote, race to NAS, Abia governor's quest to unseat Abaribe in Senate. That's on page 31. These are the stories on Daily Trust, not forgetting that we still have 11 schoolgirls of FGC Birni Yauri, 532 days still in captivity, and also 1 student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, 505 days still in captivity.
All right, now let's take a look at the Blueprint newspaper. It has a lead story that says, 30 years after CSP Okoli's sack, Judge slams 3-month jail term on IGP. Please say we're not aware of court order. And the first rider, Judge grants $10 million to applicant, threatens more sanction if contempt persists. Case not under current IGP's purview. This coming from the force headquarters. Orders investigation into the allegation. And just beneath the masthead, we have Russia-Ukraine war. Buhari calls for tighter border security in Lake Chad. Lord's troops raises the alarm over arms proliferation. And then we have no plan to relocate FCT to Lagos, Tinubu. Just beneath that, elder statesman Paul Onongo dies at 87. Federal government okays 14-day paternity leave for civil servants. We also have Adeleke makes U-turn on workers, Monarch sack, APC mocks governor. And just beneath that, 2023 census, MPC urges Nigerians to apply for ad hoc e-recruitment. INEC chair visits Ogun, assures we won't be deterred by attacks. Also, our finance minister blames budget padding on wrong code. We also have on the blueprint for today, Nigeria's education, one of the best in the world. This is coming from the TRCN registrar. This is the major stories on the blueprint for today.
All right. On the Leadership newspaper this morning, the lead story there talks about breaches of Electoral Act, INEC not independent, afraid of powers that be, says lawyers. You'd also find above the masthead, Russia-Ukraine war, PMB seeks tighter security against arms influx. Second Republic Minister Paul Onongo dies at 87. You also find Leadership Award, recognition of good governance in Ogun, Abiodun. And then you also would see other stories there beside the pictorial. Repentant terrorist, wives delivered of 262 children in 4 months. You also have Qatar 2022, US, England, Senegal qualify for round of 16, Netherlands top Group A. Contempt. I'm not aware of court order on dismissed officer, says IGP. These are the stories on the front page of the Leadership.
Over now to the Punch newspaper, which has a lead story that says, import duty controversy. Private jet owners sue government over 30 billion naira tax. And the first rider, 17 business moguls, banks, others move to stop government from grounding luxury jets. We also have aircraft owners sue government with foreign registered firms. Trustees insist payment illegal. And the third rider, NCAA Customs await court papers. Abuja court plans to set hearing date for suit. And just beneath that, we have NDLEA nabbed suspected drug baron, brother flees. Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Ogun, Oyo deployed drones against kidnappers. Still on the Punch newspaper, herbalist steals money, beheads lotto operator. And we have RMAFC, EFCC uncover oil firms $205 million unremitted funds. And just by the masthead, budget padding allegations senseless, says Finance Minister. And above it, depots sell 220 naira per litre. Marketers project 350 naira litre pump price. We also have 87% of Nigeria's rural roads deplorable. This is coming from the World Bank. This is about it on the Punch newspaper for today.
All right. On the Nation newspaper, the lead story, Wike to Rivers, PDP, awaits directive on presidential poll. We'll tell you who to vote for. That's the rider there. You'd find also above the masthead, contempt, court jails IGP for 3 months. Adeleke backtracks on sack, demotion, others. Federal workers to enjoy 14-day paternity leave. Senegal through to round of 16 at Qatar World Cup. You would also find petrol's ex-depot price now 210 naira per litre. Tinubu has no plans to return capital to Lagos, says APC. These are the stories on the Nation.
Now let's take a look at the Tribune newspaper. It has a late story that says Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Ogun, Oyo to deploy drones to tackle kidnappers. And beneath that we have Adeleke Osun Speaker meet. Government dissolves all non-statutory boards. Please secure Akerun's palace. Come in Ire Igbajo. And beneath that, military actions alone can't end terrorism in Lake Chad. This is coming from the president. We also have Kogi partners China on security architecture. No manifesto, no debate, APC tells Obi. Also, still on the Tribune, police disperse protesters demanding CJN's resignation. We also have court sentences IGP to 3 months in prison for contempt. Ex-Second Republic Minister Paul Onongo dies at 87. These are the major stories on the Tribune newspaper for today.
All right, now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The lead story there, Tinubu lists terms to debate Obi as Arise TV insists on appearance. You would also find above the lead story, obey before complaint. Huriwa tells IGP as police boss gets 3 months jail. Terrorist kill DPO's mom, brother in Katsina. Grief as gunmen kill Kaduna LP women leader. Kogi, Chinese firm partner on $60 million smart security architecture. You also would have a pro rata pay. ASU demands removal of Adamu Ngige Keamo. Other stories at the footnote, Rivers surrender to EFCC, opposition parties tell Fubara. And then UNN ASU direct members to withhold results over unpaid salaries. So these are the stories on The Guardian this morning. Let's get perspectives on some of these stories. We have the Director of News Voice of Nigeria, Ben Shemang, in the studio to give us perspectives. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
My pleasure, as usual.
All right.
Thank you.
So when we started with the Daily Trust newspaper, the first story there, the lead story, talks about Russia-Ukraine war weapons being smuggled to Lake Chad region. And one will wonder, that's coming from President Muhammadu Buhari, who is president of the Lake Chad Basin Commission. And one would wonder how arms from from far away Russia, Ukraine will be finding its way on the African continent. I mean, this is like a history repeating itself, although in the case of Libya, it is still within the continent. But now we are seeing from all the way Russia, Ukraine. How is that even happening? And what are we not doing right?
What are we not doing right? I would say, what are we doing right? What do I mean by this? Nigeria's president is the leader of Lake Chad Basin Commission. Of course, he has the intelligence at his hand. He has the DG of the National Intelligence Agency that takes care of anything security or insecurity as it affects Nigeria. Other country members of the Basin Commission also came for this summit. They also have their own counterparts as per bringing information, and of course they share notes. Don't forget there's also the multinational joint task force in that area. So they absolutely must have been following some of these things. And of course, what are we doing right? We are doing right because we also know the roots. When you say far away Ukraine, far away Russia, of course, we are seeing that Russia is now having some inroads into West Africa. Bearing in mind that if you look at DR Congo now, they have the Wagner Group. It's a private army owned by a friend to the Russian president. Bear in mind what is happening in Burkina Faso. Bear in mind what is happening in Mali. Of course, France is trying to pull out and Russia is trying to come in. Bear in mind that when this crisis between Ukraine and Russia came up, I mean, they tried to woo Nigeria, Russia. Nigeria said, no, we are neutral. But what will they say? There was a monkeypox that came up. Russia tried to pollute the world. Say, Nigeria and America have a kind of a laboratory where they have created this, just like coronavirus, and are exporting some of these things. Now, the idea is, how do we destabilize Africa the more? And if you look at the Wagner Group, what they do is, instead of now going to support democracy, governments have been overthrown, and youths have been forced to go into mining of precious stones for Russia. So it's not out of place when Russia will now say, how do I destabilize this? And bearing in mind, if you look at, in terms of colonialism, Russia didn't have to kind of colonize some countries in Africa the way Germany attempted, the way France did, the way Britain did, and some other countries in Europe. Now, if time has come for Russia to show that, look, I am a force to be reckoned with within contemporary world politics, time has therefore come. So if the leaders have met and they realized that, yes, arms are coming in, the intelligence have shown it. And in Nigeria, if Nigeria is a target, or Niger Republic, Cameroon, tell me these countries of this commission that have not experienced either ISWAP attacks or Boko Haram. And therefore, if you go to areas like Fotokol, it's a boundary town around Gamborogala, and of course, you see the exits there. They call it a milling point where arms are coming in. And of course, they can go in through Cameroon, that same route to Chad, that same route to Niger, and deep down after Chad, between Chad, Niger, Niger boundaries, of course, that's where the arms from Libya come in. And in Libya, they're still having this problem of not having a kind of an acceptable government by all Libyans. So there are ungoverned spaces that have been occupied by those who don't mean well for humanity.
You know, Mr. Sherman, even before the president said it, last year, the former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, he talked about it also, that there were proliferation of small arms across the country. Now the president is saying it. And one of the things that everybody knows, and he also talked about, is the need for tighter border security. Why is it that our borders have remained porous, despite the fact that they are aware of the danger of these arms coming into the country?
Yeah, they've remained so because there are times, the things you call the commitment itself, the political will to do it. There has to be that will. Then even if there is the will, do you have the capability? Nigeria, the immigrations will tell you that there are close to 4,000 illegal entry points just to Nigeria alone. So if they are that way, how many will you give to Cameroon? How many will you give to Niger? How many to Chad? How many to Benin Republic? So these are contiguous nations to Nigeria. So all that it requires is for people, the leadership and the military to join hands. And from time to time,
isn't it why we have all the multinational joint task force operations going on, and that synergy between all the neighboring countries? Yeah,
but if you look, it's virtually around the Lake Chad axis, so to speak, because they've seen the inflows are mostly from there. But if you take a very simple analysis of guiding a house, your house, for example, Elia, the security man will just remain at the gate, so that when you come, you open gate, you close the gate, others are coming, he checks, he knows who is coming in and out. But what is happening behind? Check attacks of even prisons or correctional centers. They look at the loopholes behind and break in. So if there is so much attention paid to Lake Chad areas, of course they look for some area from other areas where there is a weakness.
But my grouse is that some of these smuggling actually do not just take place in the illegal routes, sometimes even in the legal routes. So how protected is the legal routes that we have? These are the official border posts that I'm talking about here. How, secured is it? How, I don't know. How secured is it? Let me just leave it that.
Well, how secured is it physically? You can see some cameras on ground, but are they working? How secured are they? You can see security men with blood and weapons at security posts. But again, are they working the way they ought to be working? And tell me how some arms came in through Apapa Key. Tell me how, just a moment, how, in other words, some people at the point, if you feel you are controlling the camera and you switch it on off, then things will pass. If you feel there are dogs that can sniff anything via this route, and you decided to take the dogs to a different direction, and the illegal goods are passing, so you could have this thing physically, but the will are the people actually committed to it. That is one of the things. And connivance. Usually people who think they want to either show that they have some prowess, some powers from intelligence to do some misnomers. They always want to embarrass government. They always want to kill humanity. In fact, attack the vulnerable groups. So yes, you could always have some of these things, but look at cameras that were here in Abuja. Virtually all have been vandalized.
Will you say then that corruption is militating against us?
Absolutely, corruption is key in many of these things. These get rich quick, a syndrome, a kind of people would, and when you see young people, exhibiting affluence And of course, even children of the very top in government, you see the way they exhibit what they ought not to. So others will just feel, I can do it. And how are they doing it? Look at these Yahoo boys. Look at all sorts of drugs coming in here and there. You just need to check the records of NDLEA and see how drug barons are being caught constantly. See how at the airports many of these perpetrators of these crimes are being arrested here and there. Some pretending to be pregnant women. Of course, you could even see some people with disabilities. They now use disability to hide under such crimes. You know, it's just not it. So corruption is real, and some people need to just exhibit, show to society, I've reached somewhere, so that they are also counted among those who indeed are socialites, who are indeed factors to be reckoned with when it comes to Nigeria. It's just really not it. So corruption is there, and we need the security agencies to do quite a lot. When things have been imported, they've been cleared in court, and suddenly maybe federal operations of customs along the road somewhere in a state that doesn't have even a river, you now see customs arresting people with all sorts of ammunitions. How did they enter? At the entry point. And when you check, there is bill of lading. You know, you are leaving port of coming in and port of where you are buying and port of destination. I mean, papers are there legally signed. So how come? And so we also need what they call full scan when it comes to install them here and there. Oh,
okay.
So that it can help the security agencies and help to protect our lives.
All right. Good enough. We understand that the customs has also installed scanners at on a port in two of the depots in Lagos. So that's good enough that we have that installed. Now let's move on to other stories. The political scene is already saturated. We are seeing that the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, is saying that is urging his supporters, or I would say his followers, to wait on directive on the issue of presidential poll, who to vote for. And we've seen reactions that have trailed that. What's your take on this?
Well, you know, Wike happens to be a headline maker and a headline grabber. And when he makes the headlines, he throws it and simply retreats. And he will wait for every other person. I mean, let those headlines be shaken. They keep you guessing as it is now. Wait, I'll tell you who I'm supporting. Now, every other presidential candidate will say, will it be me? What will he say against me? You know, his followers, are they following him religiously? What would that mean? Following him in bulk when he says, look, vote for so-so-so candidate. Now, look at the rift between him and his own party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. Now, would that be him? When at the point we hear this G5, they say, oh, if we were not to be in PDP, I think Peter Obi would have been our candidate, you know. So when you are neither here nor there, and you now say, okay, I'll soon announce my position, of course, it leaves people guessing. It leaves people with screaming headlines.
Wike is telling the Rivers PDP, wait for directive.
And they are waiting.
I mean, and no, that's my question. Are they all going to wait on that directive? Do you think it's going to be every member of the PDP is going to agree? Because we have people like Celestine Omeha, we have people like Senator Lee Maiva and all of them who are not really with him, but they are in the PDP of Rivers State.
Yeah, when you talk of political godfatherism, all those people you are counting, and when it comes to real politicking and to be in charge, Wike happens to be so much conspicuously in charge for now. Every other politician at the point, okay, can you measure up with the force of the person, Nyesom Wike? So he is a pillar, a kind of. Rather, everything will always be evolving or
But
rotating.
should anyone have such powers or have such influence to say, oh, I'm going to tell you who to vote for?
What is,
Should anyone have?
what is fatherism, godfatherism in politics? We saw it in the strongman of Ibadan.
We have seen where God's sons went against their godfathers. We have seen instances like that.
We've seen it even, were they not the same with former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi? They were the same team. We've seen it in Ibadan, the strongman Adedibu of the GOC there, as he was called politically. I mean, Asiwaju Tinubu is also a godfather. Tinubu, Atiku is also one. And so when you say, is it not wrong? It's not wrong. The only thing is use it effectively, use it positively.
Being a member of the People's Democratic Party, should Wike be having any other presidential candidate aside from that, the person who is carrying the flag of his party? And if he is not doing so, isn't that an anti-party activity, and therefore the party should be able to take an action on members who are not really submissive to the leadership of the party?
Yeah, you see, there's one thing you call the supremacy of the party over everyone. And when you call, say, like President Buhari, you say he's a leader of the party, but the chairman of the party himself is supposed to be stronger. It's the party that brought him to power. So when you do have situations...
But that's not the case, is it?
Well, it's not the case as we consider Wike and PDP.
Even in the case of the national chairmanship of the APC, for instance, as well. You talked about President Buhari and you talked about the national chairman of the APC.
You see, there are times when a tenant becomes so strong and than the landlord, at the point the landlord almost begs, oh, please now pay me, I get this issue. And the tenant will begin to pay in his own terms. Almost that is what Wike is doing. And PDP appears to lack the powers to discipline him. Say, we hereby suspend you, we hereby send a query, whether verbal or written, explain this. Because they fear, look, all the eggs they're having, they are in one basket. And so, should Wike rock the boat at this point in time, more than this? And so, they're also very, very careful and tactical to ensure that it doesn't happen. If it happens, All
right, still on political matters, we have this list story on The Guardian that says, Tinubu lists terms to debate Obi as Arise TV insists on appearance. I mean, can a candidate determine the terms for the debate?
Well, instead of you to determine the terms, just say categorically you won't go. Because I'm wondering when they said there is GCE, and students will now say, oh boy, these are the questions you must ask us. The students should not determine the terms. And that was why when the Nigeria Elections Debates Group, NEDG, and well, my humble self, I used to be a member of the board. You see that you write people. Some will outrightly reject. You leave them, face others, you know. And of course, some will say they have more important things to do. So at the point, there was this proposed bill, Abike Dabiri, Aberibe, Shola Omole, Abubakar Jijiwa, Taiwo Alimi Aremo, and many others. They were coming together to ensure that there is a bill that would be made into law, signed into law, to make election debates compulsory for candidates, gubernatorial, senatorial, presidential, so that at every level these debates are on ground, to ensure that candidates actually show what they are made up of, what they want to do, and so that people can kind of carry a diary and begin to write. They said they will do this, they will do this, they will do this. And if they are doing so, let Nigerians begin to think as to what they have done, what they have failed to do, what they are doing, so that you call them to account for their actions and inactions. But you see, this debate thing, some people just feel that it's like you want to give us marks. And that's why some people are turning it, yes. Some people say,
binding.
yes, some would just say, let's have an interaction.
Yes,
because they are not a debate.
Yes, but again, the media too, how can we ensure that the media maintains its integrity to be sure that it doesn't compromise and it doesn't ridicule itself, you know, in the midst of all of this? Because it's very important too that media, you know, maintains that neutrality and not to be partisan in all of this, because the tendency is if the media becomes partisan, then it could rubbish the whole idea behind having a debate. So what's your take?
I'm sorry if I'll draw a parallel this way. When you hire a mourner, you are bereaved, but you hired mourners, you detect the terms. When you own a medium, you virtually detect what form, what format it should take. And sometimes if you don't even detect, body language will show the key officers. Look, Oga is thinking this way. Let's talk this way. And that's why what you really call professionalism, equal grounds. Check when party this makes a mistake. See how some other people will cash on it to ensure, yeah, look at. Today, some people are, oh, as what you said, we won't take Lagos, Abuja out and take it back to Lagos. Now, some people want to cash on all those things. Now, they say CGN is hobnobbing with some G15. It becomes an issue. Now, if it becomes an issue, see protests are already coming against the CJN, and that doesn't augur well for democracy. And when the media would therefore select those things, there will be no cohesion in society. And of course, when people begin to doubt the media, it creates some problems. So that the call here is that let the media, the professionals, do professional jobs. And thank God, I mean, the media organizations, associations, Guild of Editors, NUJ, Newspaper Proprietors Association, broadcasting organizations, they're now saying, look, let us have a kind of a single, almost a single kind of a law that will guide our conduct during, after elections, before, during and after elections.
Okay, before you go, there's a story on the page 3 of the Daily Trust. Protest over arrest of varsity student who criticized Aisha Buhari. I'd like your take on this issue.
No, I think that if it is true that the First Lady should have just simply said, oh, this is my son, I'll allow him to vibrate, let him, like the students will say, I want to vibrate, I want to articulate, I want to yarn, I want to speak. Let him speak. It's part of democracy. After all, when they criticize you, okay, maybe there's a wrong I have not seen, or I don't even know it's a wrong. I begin to correct myself. I read what the Adamu wrote, and of course he wrote it in Hausa, said the First Lady is living in the glory of public funds and all that stuff. You know, it's for you. I say, I disagree, my son. How do you do? Oh, can you prove that? But I like your gods. God bless you. And it ends there. Now, I mean, the way the First Lady is being attacked over this story, that ordinarily would have simply, I mean, just refused to pass a comment on, is generating unnecessary heat. You can now see even the international media. They've started feasting on it.
All right. Just before we go, it's worth the mention that we have 2 Trust TV journalists shortlisted for Wole Soyinka Investigative Journalism Award. That's one of us. Let me not say one, 2 of us. Zainab Bala and also Abdulaziz, who are also co-anchors here on the Daybreak show with us.
Yes, I think, yes, it's good, very good. Because, you see, when you investigate a story and government reacts, or society reacts, it means you are actually communicating. What's the essence of communication? You say something, the target hears it and reacts positively or negatively. So that is the impact. That they were listed because they pursued Boko Haram stories, went to real villages, and of course brought out life how some people are living because of Boko Haram attacks here and there. Let me juxtapose that with what happened when Channels TV went into Police College, Ikeja, unannounced, filmed the squalor in which trainees were living, and they had to pay for this, pay for that. President Jonathan then was to go to Germany or so, and he was taking his breakfast when that tape was rolled. From there, he just said, take me to Police College fast. He went there. Of course, the commissioner of police was not there. They called him. President is in school. So which president? Jonathan. He rushed back. Jonathan said, what is happening? Don't we give you money? I want this change now all over the country. And that change, thank God to that kind of a story. So we have to investigate to make sure that society is good for it. So Daily Trust, Zainab and Abdulaziz, congratulations. I hope you win, because you risked your life to go to where people never went, and you brought the photographs. Even though that angered government, but I think so, government must have also learned some things to see, okay, let's do it this way, the way society should be.
All right, and that's what Trust TV is all about, documenting the Nigerian stories in a way that no media organization does. We dare to go to the places where
nobody dares to go.
Nobody will go there. You know, just to tell you the stories that you need to know and to inform all that need to know what's happening.
Only that investigative journalism is costly.
Yes, and that's why Trust TV is committed.
Costs life, it costs money,
and that's why our viewers need
time.
and that's why our viewers need to support Trust TV in doing this all the time. All right, we'll take a short break now. Thank you so much, Ben Sherman, for joining us on the Daybreak this morning for your perspectives on the stories on the front pages. We'll take a short breather now, and then when we return, we'll take a look at other issues on the program. Join us again.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that